What's up, guys? It's Benny. This is Christian conservative activist Jake Lang yesterday getting ripped to shreds by a mob, stabbed in the head and the side. He barely escaped with his life. He had to flee the left-wing mob in Minneapolis, Minnesota. He was staging an anti-Islam protest, which is, of course, his right under the Constitution. He has every right to protest, and
all this protest and all these Muslims attacking Christians is genocide. It's all a 200-year war all over again with Christians and Muslims. Y'all know how long that 200-year war lasted between Christians and Muslims? Look it up. It lasts a long fucking time. And like it's gonna be a repeat. And this time, having swords and knives, it's gonna be guns this time. Go back to the video.
Nearly murdered him. They wanted to drag him from the street. They attacked the car that he was in, and this is simply for standing up against Islam. These left-wing terrorists need to be put down with the full force of law enforcement, but this is something that must now happen on a federal level because, as you can see here, the police in Minneapolis do absolutely nothing. And I want to give you some good news here about the feds deploying troops, but I want to just play you this clip one more time. Again, Lang, bleeding from the back of the head, bleeding from the side, had body armor on, and that's the only thing that saved him from being ripped to shreds. You know, there are liberals that wander through every American city and burn American flags and burn Bibles. This never happens to them. Conservatives never behave like this. Never. This is why the Insurrection Act was created, and yet, if a left-winger ever was attacked by a Republican, how fast do you think law enforcement would be on there? The Minneapolis police let this American nearly receive a mob death, a lynching in Minneapolis. So, of course, all control has been lost in Minneapolis. It's completely evil what happened. Pray for the people who are on the scene there. The Pentagon readies 1,500 troops for deployment to Minnesota. Thank God. Here we go. Pentagon has called up 1,500 active duty soldiers to prepare for possible deployment in Minneapolis. Sunday, large-scale protests have erupted. Government's immigration crackdown, according to a new report. The Army allegedly issued a prepare to deploy orders in case violent clashes escalate, warning government against the demonstrators. Washington Post learned the orders were given by 2 U.S. Army infantry battalions under the 11th Airborne Division, based in Alaska, and the troops were specialized for cold weather operation. Nice. It's great to have such a big country because you just have deployment. You have soldiers that can do pretty much anything, right? If we can black bag Nicolas Maduro in the dark night, we can make sure that left-wing protesters are not able to run rampant and just kill their fellow Americans, which is what they tried to do yesterday with Jake Lang. These orders come as President Trump threatened to use the Insurrection Act to deploy military forces across Minnesota. State officials failed to stop the protesting and the attacks on ICE and other federal authorities. In response, the order for troops to be ready, the White House said that it is not unusual for the Pentagon to be prepared for any decision the president makes. Tensions between the Minnesotans and the federal government surged following the heated protests in Minneapolis after ICE agent Jonathan Ross shot Renee Good, who was trying to murder him. Obviously, she was driving away. She drove right into the ICE agent. They've also attacked our friends and independent journalists like Nick Sotor, the cuck mayor of Minneapolis, is crying on camera, saying we will not be intimidated. Yeah, dude. He's under federal investigation, by the way. Pentagon has ordered roughly 1,500 troops to prepare. These troops belong to the 11th Airborne Division in Alaska. Governor Tim Walz also mobilized the Minnesota National Guard yesterday. The Guard staged to support local law enforcement if needed. They've completely lost control of Minnesota. Tim Walz is panicked. Send them in, 47. Leftist rebellion will be rapidly quashed. This is what they did in Los Angeles. This is what they've done in D.C. This is what has to happen from time to time. And, here's a report from Fox.
The sun hasn't risen yet, but once it does here in Minnesota, it is likely that there will be more demonstrations today. We are entering week 3 of unrest here, and the clashes between law enforcement and protesters are showing no signs of slowing down. There was yet another tense day here yesterday. Outside of that ICE federal facility, law enforcement holding the line against angry protesters who can be heard screaming, "Kill yourself," and "Un-American" to law enforcement. The Washington Post is reporting the Pentagon has ordered about 1,500 active duty soldiers to prepare for possible deployment here to Minnesota if violence escalates. Governor Tim Walz also mobilized the Minnesota National Guard yesterday. The Guard staged to support local law enforcement if needed, and it says it's ready to respond to locations across the metro area. Now, yesterday, protests continued outside the ICE detention center, and there was also a violent clash between counter-protesters at City Hall. President Trump has warned that he may use the Insurrection Act here in Minnesota, which would allow the federal government to use military troops to bring calm. Meanwhile, a statewide day of action is scheduled for this Friday. Activists are asking people not to attend work, school, or make purchases, and the St. Paul Federation of Educators is also asking members to get involved on Friday.
Who could possibly be against this? I don't know. I mean, listen, again, when the feds were raiding J6ers and they were using federal forces to attack and terrorize innocent Americans who just were peacefully protesting on January 6th. Nobody stormed their cars, nobody attacked them, nobody burned their vehicles to the ground. This is something uniquely of the left and uniquely in blue cities. Blue cities should be uniquely targeted for engagements like this. Because this is something...
Only the left does this kind of shit, okay? When we start writing, we don't do all this shit like they doing. Okay? It's only the left does this kind of bullshit. And it's pathetic. Yeah, the Pentagon is preparing about 1,500 active duty soldiers while possibly deployed to Minnesota and ongoing protests against ICE. They need to get the Marines and all them down here for that. That might stop a lot of shit. Next video.
That only leftists do. Republicans do not form mobs and then go after and try to rip left-wing protesters limb by limb. Liberals do it every single couple of months. It's riot season again. Just confused about the preparing part. Just do it already. Everybody's saying just do it. They've not officially given the order. Everyone's saying let's go. Here come the troops. The president's administration is preparing. Donald Trump here on Truth Social saying ICE is removing some of the most violent criminals in the world from our country, bringing them back home where they belong. Why would Minnesota be fighting this? They want murderers and drug dealers in their communities. The thugs that are protesting include many highly paid professional agitators and anarchists. Is it really what Minnesota wants? The crooked governor and congresswoman who married your brother don't mind because that keeps them the attention away from the fraud that has taken place. Don't worry, we are on it. Let's freaking go. The argument against this is pretty weak, frankly, by America's most cucked mayor, Jacob Frey. I'll let you judge for yourself here. He literally holding back tears on the CNN interview, knowing not only that he's under criminal investigation for obstructing ICE and probably criminal investigation for fraud, but now he will have a city under military rule. And hopefully he'll be arrested just like Tim Walz. Anyway, here you go. Cry more about it. Salty tears. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
News that there are 1,500 active duty U.S. soldiers on standby to deploy to your state.
This act was clearly designed to intimidate the people of Minneapolis. And here's the thing. We're not going to be intimidated. If the goal here is safety, we've got many mechanisms to achieve safety. And the best way to get safety is not to have an influx of even more agents, and in this case, military, in Minneapolis. Right now, we have about 600 police officers, and they've got 3,000 or so ICE agents and border control. That they are now talking about deploying 1,500 military. This is, well, it's ridiculous, but we will not be intimidated by the actions of this federal government.